Yo, dude, the stakes are high. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's getting serious now. Pace is coming closer and closer, and these spots. I mean, we hyped it up all the time. Every race, we said, like, dude, this one single point could matter now. What if you didn't bonk there and got like an extra point? Now, this is the time where it eventually will come back at them, since we are getting close to that playoff qualifier.
Yep, it certainly does come down to this and the next week. Essentially, there are a couple of players who have essentially earned themselves a bye. NicroVeda being one of them. Little Curbs, Chaos Pringle, and but Fur is kind of on the cusp. You know, if Fur underscore doesn't win the next couple of matches and some of the other closer competitors to 8th place are able to snag some victories, it could mean the end of his league competition. So this match truly does matter to Fur at this moment.
It really does. To be honest, Fur. I mean, we gotta be serious here for a second. Fur obviously has been focusing extremely hard on his stream. Like, this guy has been streaming like 10 hours a day, almost. It feels like, doing AOM like 6 times a week. I don't even know what he's doing, dude. He's on his own mad adventure, but that obviously will drastically affect your any percent performance. I mean, everybody that runs any percent quote unquote full time will certainly feel that.
Yep, it's a real fight for optimization, and in order to be the best, you do have to really hone your skills in that one particular category. And definitely Fur has been spending a lot of time doing all unique moons, so I mean, his movement is probably not rusty, his movement is probably on point, but it's just going to come down to those tiny little finesse details, making sure that he's getting the absolute optimal tricks under his belt. And that, I think, is where NicroVeda will have the advantage, because he has been arguably streaming just as often, maybe not quite as long, but focusing entirely on any percent. So these things are fresh for him, and maybe not so much for Fur.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. Nicro is just getting a file ready right now. As most of you might know already, we've been talking about this quite a few times before a race has started. The first load you get whenever you restart your Switch, actually, to be safe, you should probably always load a file, because sometimes your first load can be randomly 2 seconds slower.
Yeah, and that's always a fun thing to deal with, especially in a race, giving your opponent a 2-second head start just for the fun of it, essentially. But yes, loading up that first file to get that out of the way, and then no issues after that. Funny thing is that problem does not exist on digital copies of the game. So if you have 1.2 digital, you don't even need to worry about loading up a file. But of course, these guys going for the optimal strats, FMS, Sphinx clip, turnip clip. So you will be seeing them run on 1.0.
Yeah, it has actually been it has been a while that there was we had a super accurate comparison between a full 1.2 digital and a full 1.0 one, as we all know at this point. I mean, we don't all know it, but it seems like loads have their fair share of inconsistencies. It's not like you can say, okay, if you play on digital, you will always save like 18 seconds or something on loads compared to 1.2 physical. Sadly, that doesn't really work out in this game. Loads seem to be slightly inconsistent.
Yeah, just the nature of games being loaded nowadays. And we've even seen just discrepancies between cartridges too. It's kind of known in the community that Rhea actually seems to have the god cart and tends to get quite a bit faster loads than everybody else does. So, just these kinds of inconsistencies, obviously cannot help the situation, but as far as auto-splitting is concerned, this is a console game. There are no options for us in that department, so won't be looking to cut them out, but they are also small enough that it's kind of insignificant, so it's all right.
Exactly. It's not like it's race determining or anything, but it's something that has been sticking out. Once again, Nicro, and we said this in his last matchup, is still currently dealing with some very heavy internet issues. It is obviously preferable for him to do his race right now, since pace is getting closer, and we need to obviously close out the regular season here. But we can probably already warn you that we might see some frame inconsistencies there on his screen. He's definitely going to be doing the best that he can, but sometimes this is obviously out of your control.
Yep, and like you said, we're getting down to the wire, so we really do need to get these matches out of the way. So apologies in advance for some quality issues, maybe some frame drops, but of course NicroVeda probably locally recording as well. So if anything goes wrong, we will still have
Exactly.
footage of the race.
Exactly. Now, leaving cap here, we are looking pretty close. Looks like Necro does have a tiny lead going into Cascade, which honestly, this might be another thing where he's quote-unquote favorite, because he's probably going to be going for not only the wall jumpless first moon skip, but also the very fastest version of the chest clip.
And I'm not sure if Fur Underscore is also in that boat. I know that he definitely is going for the chest clip, probably going for some kind of fast setup, but it'll be interesting to see if he is opting for some sort of wall jumpless FMS here. It's kind of divided among the league which one you do. Definitely NicroVeda being the one who is going to go for this. But Fur going just for the regular dive into the water here. Looks like he's just going for the regular FMS, but he's actually going to be bonking against the rock here, and he's going to have to reset.
Yeah, very uncommon mistake actually there. This is he basically was done with the quote-unquote harder part of the trick, which is squeezing through that invisible wall, but ended up getting an unfortunate bonk there, and I guess got another dip into the water.
Potentially showing the 1.2 familiarities there. Obviously, 1.2 does not have this trick available to them, so you have to get the first moon in any category that you're playing 1.2 on. So potentially just missing his timing a little bit as a result of that. But we are perfectly synced on Chain Chompykins pulls. Just for Underscore is one behind. So still a pretty close race.
Yep, nothing serious here so far. We've seen some pretty drastic differences recently in these races. So yesterday, Suisaga almost was able to get a 3-minute clean sweep of a Royal Mate. It was actually a pretty interesting race with some huge shenanigans happening in Wooded to both of them. But also the last matchup we had between Equan and I'm not even sure who he was racing against, but he ended up, I think, with like a 4-minute difference or something. So we definitely had some bigger differences recently.
Yeah, not to mention the clean sweep that Nicro had, I believe, just recently. Am I thinking of that correctly? I feel like I was just commentating a race that had a full... Oh, it was Chaos versus Equan. Equan was able to lose by a full 3 minutes there, so... Yeah, it's been kind of happening right towards the end, all of these very massive differences, these upsets, and really kind of throwing the points table around all over the place.
Sure. Now, chest clip looks like it might not work for Fur here. He was pretty low there.
Yeah,
on that moon grab.
Unfortunate cascade for Fur. And right out of the gate, Nicro looks like he's going to be taking about a 15 to 20 second lead going into sand. Now, Nicro has been doing really, really well in sand, specifically. Been really working and honing in on these early game kingdoms. I think he still holds the world record for Wooded, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you are, but just because you recently got like a 5:10, that was like yesterday or something.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you saw that, but he ended up getting like an 18 flat Wooded exit, which is like, yeah, it's like 16 seconds out of world record or something.
Yeah, absolutely disgusting.
But yeah, I mean, Nicro definitely very, very strong suited in Wooded Kingdom, something that many admire him for, even in top level. Yes, he's also getting these Woodeds very consistently. Like, it's actually almost uncommon for him when he gets out of Wooded to get like something worse than that. I mean, obviously, it might be something like a 5-12, 5-13, but I mean, okay, it's also kind of unfair, because Nicro would probably reset to something like a 5:19 Wooded nowadays, which is actually crazy if you think about it. Maybe not completely reset, but that would lose him like 7 seconds, 8 seconds or something, and 5:19 used to be like pretty nice, dude. Something like anything lower than like a 2x used to be, man, that's a good Wooded, but times change. And so do standards, and these runners are just like in sub-hour level. You don't want to lose 3 seconds of your bolts anymore. That's like actually the time loss, like a real time loss now.
Certainly. Yeah, I'm still at a point where my gold may or may not be a 1x yet, but that is exactly what you mean, you know, getting these sub-hour times really does come down to the wire. Really does come down to not losing any time off your sum of best. These players, some of them have 59 2x sum of bests. I think a 1x exists somewhere, maybe with the sub splits.
Probably subsplits, yeah.
And so when it comes to that, you really, really do not have very much wiggle room at all. You have to play optimally. You cannot be losing any more than 2 or 3 seconds in a split, especially in the sub-split situation.
Definitely not recommended. For now, making his way up to the dram section, another trick that he probably wants to get under his belt. And as I say, that time loss here hurts you quite a bit, since you basically have to wait for another bullet bill to spawn. And I'm not sure if he stayed up long enough, and if that would have been better. I'm interested, like, maybe he should have stayed up there and spawned another bill, and then jump down and maybe up throw to get the bullet bill there, but that's a hard call. Ended up waiting there and picking up the bullet bill now. I'm not sure what was happening on NicroVeda, but probably just the stream catching up.
Yeah, it looks like we are having some issues here, but he's getting the Sphinx clip on the first try, it looks like. Potentially.
Yeah,
he did get in fast, so...
I actually looked back at the restream, and now I know why I was so confused, because Nicro basically had like a freeze frame where he had the Naglotech ice statue in the back, but his new frame was like overlapping it, so it looked like Mario was like inside of that Naglotech. It was like extremely weird. It looked pretty funny.
Call up the world peace, boys. We have clipped into Naglotech's head. We can get the multi-moony early.
Oh my god, that's
oh
the
my
biggest
god.
ever.
Fur having really good Sphinx clips as well, keeping pace in sand, aside from the dram strat.
Yeah, dram strat definitely hurts you quite a bit, especially if you miss it like further, and you basically have to wait for the entire bullet bill cycle to spawn, and then also have to climb up the ice spike, which is obviously, as we all know, the main reason why that strat even exists, since it's so troublesome. Oh, I forgot what the official word was from that legendary script, but oh, I was about to say that looked very low. I was about to say that wall kick looked very low as I was glancing over there on first screen, and he is actually going to be spawning here at the Sphinx now, going to be resetting the bird. But Jaxie's skip death is still one of the most punishing deaths in the game.
Yeah, going to show it for it here. Going to be grabbing that checkpoint just for a little bit of safety. Good call by Fur here, and doesn't want to miss this trick again. A lot of these runners have been going for this kind of strategy for Jaxie skip where they're not actually hitting the part of the wall that we used to hit, jumping out of it early and initiating your wall jump that way. A little bit tricky though, because if you do mess up your timing, you do hit the wall and you do not get your wall jump proper. So that's what happened to Fur there.
And honestly, I wonder why, because I mean, it does save a little bit of time over the old strat, but there's no real need to play extremely fast if you don't go for the late crate route. Like, the faster you play, it's actually not necessarily that much better, because the bird will just be further away from you in this specific route. If you go for this newer optimization in Sand called the late crate route, where you pick up the crate later on and skip the pipe room at the start of the kingdom, then you actually want to play as fast as possible, because the bird cycle will be extremely tight. But in the normal case of sand routing, I'm thinking that little Jaxie skip optimization might be redundant almost.
Yeah, I would have to agree. There's definitely a level of optimization that is just... You kind of have to play within the bird cycle, essentially. And actually, like, waiting maybe a second could potentially be more optimal, because the bird will be right up in your face, and you don't have to go and chase him down.
Exactly. Nicro's already over here in Lake Kingdom, and this is another one of his natural habitats. I'm probably going to curse him right now, but Lake Clip has always been something that he has been thriving at compared to many other runners. Looks like he will get Cappy to clip first try, and actually no curse here. Nicro will make that clip work, immediately gets the checkpoint grab, which is obviously the crucial part out of this one. It basically shows us a stellar performance on Lake Clip.
Amazing. that very quick setup. He even gets the Cappy return homing situation there, so that he's able to get Cappy back as soon as he throws him through the wall.
Yeah, very nicely done by him.
Obviously switching to Joy-Cons here to get the optimal down throw. The only situation where Joy-Cons are actually of any use to runners here. Fur maybe doing something a little bit strange here. Going to Wooded first.
Yeah, not necessarily strange. He has been doing this basically consistently ever since he has started to do lots of AOM. He also likes to go C-set, but he hasn't really mentioned his reasoning. I think it's a good thing to just do if you want to keep, because like if you want to keep your consistency with these exits, and he's definitely planning to further improve his AOM time. These specific kingdom selects are extremely crucial because it's only one input, but if you mess it up, your entire route will change, might not even work anymore, and it's actually the worst feeling in the world to reset a run to like a miss input there. It's even in like Darker Set if you go to, let's say, to Lake instead of Wooded.
Yep, I can confirm that. My very first 100% run had that issue. I went to Snow first instead of Seaside, and it does change absolutely everything because there are hint arts you need to look at in a specific order, and there are things that you need to collect, and
Exactly.
it just kind of changes the entire dynamic of the entire run. And yeah, you basically have to start doing some hopping around. You mess up the warp painting chain. It's a big mess. It's a bad time.
Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. Fur now going for Nut Clip looks like a good position for him to make that work, and he will actually get the clip. Still needs to do this out of bounds move, and I hope he is still familiar with that. As far as I know, this is nowhere to be found in the AOM route. However, this is almost like I'm not sure if this is like a saying in English countries as well, but in Germany we say like this is almost like riding a bicycle, when we say
Yes.
that like, never forget how to do, and I guess that's kind of how the out of bounds part works here as well.
Yep, that is a pretty common saying in English as well. Something along those lines where, you know, once you've learned how to do it, you forget.
Gets that to work, but Nicro is already in Wooded, which kind of signals us that his lead is actually pretty well and healthy. He's already done with the entirety of Lake Kingdom. Folks, he has to go there still. And, I mean, he does currently have a quote-unquote lead as far as the Wooded completion goes, but it's obviously behind by quite a bit. Now Nicro is going to be going for the tree route here, something that he's obviously doing consistently in his runs as well. Let's see how well his bounces work out on his end, because these actually matter a lot, and he would actually fall all the way. Very unfortunate, definitely not going to be saving any time with that tree route. And Fur just bonked against the nut but didn't break it, I think.
I think he kind of just jumped up in the air and bonked the wall.
Yeah.
So
true, you're right.
So he's going to have to redo that. Another interesting thing to note here is that Fur didn't grab the checkpoint.
Uh-oh.
Oh, so he is going to be able to save that just barely here.
So what now? Just ground pound the Piranha to get yourself into a nice position. I think that's his plan. And you will make it over here after a very scary moment.
Yep. Had he not been able to save himself, though, he would have ended up all the way back at the shop. We have seen that happen a couple times in this league already, this tree route being very dangerous for that particular reason.
Sounds about right. Fur now inside of the tower. He's going to be making his way over here. Bombs, I think, against probably the moving iron thingy. Maybe the bong actually caused him to land on top of that ledge. Looked like a very weird bong, but he ends up getting to the place he wanted to go to. And after he's done with the store, he's going to be making his spearless movement, since he was also doing the tree route here.
See if Nicro does grab that checkpoint. So Nicro is one of the ones who has actually suffered some time loss as a result of this mistake. So learning from his mistakes, playing it safe here, it doesn't really take very much extra time to just grab the checkpoint and continue along with your journey. So definitely choosing the smart choice here. And after we wait for this buffer, we will see just how Nicro's fared with this FMS movement. Or for FRS, I rather should say.
Well, we'll never know, I guess. We'll see. We'll see if he got it. Looks like he did. Now after that unfreeze, he is already. He already had collected the nut on the crumbling tower. And he's now going to make his way into the actual tower to grab 2 moons. But Fur has been doing well for himself. He's now going to be picking up that last moon and pipeline. Is then, however, going to have to make his way over to Lake. And as we know, Nicro is already done in that kingdom.
And considering Nicro is only 4 moons away from Fur at this point, he really is making up quite a bit of ground on Fur.
Sure.
So Fur still has all of this entire Lake Kingdom to do. As soon as Nicro comes out of this tower, he's just got 3 moons, and then he's on his way to Cloud. So the lead does look pretty substantial here.
Absolutely. Nicro is going to be getting a little bit of a stun here, making this ending section a little bit slower. However, basically, you could basically say from the end of this nut here, you are basically done with it in less than a minute. And for who just started up Lake, you could almost assume that Nicro's lead might be close to 2 minutes.
Yep, which is pretty big, pretty substantial lead for the first 15 minutes. But Fur, I think, just not playing his most consistent so far, and it's really coming down to it. And Nicro, really no big mistakes to speak of, just maybe a bonk here, a ground bonk coming off the tower. So all of these little things really not messing up. Of course, now that I've said that, potentially Commentator's curse happening a little bit with the pipeway, but using the damage boost to actually get through that ring of fuzzies and finish the room.
Now, honestly, I say good backup, but honestly, this room doesn't have a good backup. The thing is, you really want to do this room damages. Like, if you take damage there, the time loss is always very bad. Because you fall down, you have to go for that ground pound. You lose like 5 seconds even with that damage boost backup, and if you don't get that, you lose like 7 or something. It's the best he could have made out of that situation, so that's all he needed. And for actually at the same time also getting a pretty nice lake clip, which is something that he is also very familiar with. This is actually used in several categories, not only 80%. Pretty powerful to grab that checkpoint early.
We have been speaking about adding it into all unique moons. It would have a place. We actually do come into this water cavern as a result because there is a moon down there, but also because there is a seed down there, and you need to take the seed all the way into the kind of the water terrace on the other side of the map. So would be of value to us to maybe use the clip to having to swim halfway through that water. But nobody doing that in AUM just yet. Nobody's really looking to do these kinds of crazy tricks, potentially not comfortable with, to kill a 8-hour category. But it does exist. The opportunity does exist there. In fact, I'm pretty sure it exists in just about every category, including things like World Peace we've been talking about, maybe adding the lake clip in somehow.
Yeah. It's technically actually even faster there, but pretty hard to pull off. Well, Nicro is already in Cloud, obviously. We talked about his lead potentially being close to 2 minutes at this point. He's doing well for himself. Coin count also looking relatively healthy, something that you can pay attention to here at this point. 85, I think that is. It's kind of hard to read on that white background, but that should be pretty nice. Even though he's not at 100 yet, which he's going to need that at Snow Kingdom. There's a bunch of coin scraps that you kind of encounter along the way.
Yep, around 75, 85, leaving Wooded and Cloud should be just about fine to make it through. 75, I guess, is just a little bit pushing it, but there are plenty of coins just kind of littered about on your way through Lost and through Metro that you can pick up along the way. And if you're within the 90s as you reach Snow Kingdom, you will be just fine, as the rest kind of are waiting for you there.
Ooh, Nike dropped quite low there, it looked like, but I guess that's something that he was comfortable with. Honestly, I'm interested if he has like a little setup for this, because I can't tell you how much the spin pound on this first moon has missed for me, and I don't even understand why. It feels like even if you hit the spot, sometimes the spin pound will not actually trigger the moon to come out of that spot. It's actually kind of cursed. But he had also some really hot movement there from the butterfly over to that moon and the propeller. Now Fur actually is struggling a little bit here in Cloud Dangers.
Yup, that first phase already not looking good for Fur. Missing the cap throw. Looks like he's going to have to just chase the hat back down and get it working again. Second phase hopefully going to treat him a little bit better. This one, however, is arguably the hardest one, because you don't get to take a damage boost to set yourself up. But Fur's got it. He knows what he's doing.
Agreed. Oh, Nick is already in the later sections of what I'm getting attacked by Alexa. Wait 1 second.
Alexa just wants to do commentary as well.
Okay, she's done. We're safe now. Let's go. Well, Nycro's not done with Lost. I was about to say he's in those later sections of Lost, but he's actually done now. Grab that. Moon was able to stay alive and is globing in right now. So basically the entirety of Lost is what his lead is looking like right now. Not exactly the entirety of Lost. We are probably looking at something like 2 minutes and 5 seconds or something.
The entirety of Lost minus this animation powering up the Odyssey. So yeah, about 2 minutes still separates these guys. And Fur still has to do all of Lost, and it's a scary kingdom. Showing off his AUM strats there a little bit, actually. Picking up both of the purples with a cap throw and still making the dive across the platform. Very swaggy stuff from Fur. And showing that he still has it, that particular triple jump into the butterfly is the optimal way to go about it, but can be a very scary way to do it as well, because you are just barely high enough to get the cap throw to catch the butterfly and also to dive back up on top of the platform. So Fur still showing some strengths here. And I feel like Lost Kingdom is the one kingdom that everybody kind of has under their belt. It is scary for sure. There are plenty of opportunities to go about losing a lot of time with Klepto and with dying in the purple poison, but it's also one of those kingdoms that in a run situation, if you're not doing it optimally, if you're not doing it perfectly, you are basically resetting. So we basically just have to have it under our belts. Otherwise, we don't have a choice.
Yeah, for sure. Nick is now on his way to the city hall, collecting some coins. I spoke about these kind of coins earlier when I said you basically pass some coin scraps. You might even pick up some of these 3. I mean, it doesn't matter. He's like 4 away from his goal for snow, and even in snow, you collect up to like 10 or something along the way.
Yes, exactly. I can think of some basically on the way to Captain Toad. I can think of some in the sub areas, the Taifu room, also the Goomba room. Exactly. So yeah, if you have any less than 10 remaining, you are good to go. So as long as Nycro doesn't die anywhere in Metro Kingdom, he will be just fine.
I haven't checked Fur's coin count yet, but I'm pretty sure it won't really matter for him, because this guy, as I said earlier, is probably, like, the chances that he goes to Seaside first are very, very high. So he might not even think about his coin count since he passed, like, I don't know the exact count, but it's probably close to like 60 coins that you pass in Seaside just as you go through the route for literally free.
Yes, exactly. Comes down to the it's a secret moon, where there is basically a giant coin trail leading you to and from that moon. So 40 coins, easy to pick up in Seaside, and you will have no problems.
This guy, he says he's an SMO commentator, and then he calls this moon it's a secret. Come on, dude.
Oh my goodness.
It's definitely a shortcut, dude.
It is definitely a shortcut, you know, taking you through a shortcut in the kingdom. I cannot believe it. Well, I will be announcing my retirement tomorrow.
Again? Dude,
oh my goodness. How many times do I have to retire? I don't know. They keep bringing me back. I don't know what it is.
Alright. I don't know. I think you must be good or something. Anyways, Nycro is getting a pretty solid 2 cycle here. Fur was actually almost falling down at that Girder sandwich moon. Saved himself there, was pretty crucial for him to get that to work. Yeah, he's only at 60 coins, but once again it will actually not matter for him, since he, I'm pretty sure he's going to Seaside regardless, even if he had like 100 coins.
And yeah, unless he forgets or something, it definitely looks like he's going to be going to Seaside first, regardless of his prior kind of habits.
Exactly. Right, Fur going for the signature. the real man's chest jump, and gets it once again. This is something that he's so consistent in. This is something we've always praised him before, and it's still worth praising him for. He always has his unique little twists on the run, and sometimes they're actually time saves that nobody else goes for. Like Cloud Boost stands out, this one stands out, the way he fights Harriet stands out even still, because even though many runners have been implementing his strat for Harriet, he's pushing it even further now with some specific movement techniques after he actually goes for the first person Harriet hits. Mike at the same time gets a very nice speeder clip here. His Fur is now going to be waiting to see what pattern he gets. Yeah, Micro missed that little capture word, but that scooter tip was nice. What? Oh, okay, that still worked. That's actually impressive. What? Wait, did it still work, or did he just throw it? I actually didn't.
No, it did still work. He was smart. So not grabbing the moon right in time, he instead just held Cappy out while he grabbed the moon so that he was still able to initiate the capture warp. Very smart play from Nicro there.
Yeah, cool stuff on the on-the-fly decision making. Fur now getting his pattern revealed, and this looks like a very comfortable one for him to get it. At least a solid Wiggler. Nice snipe there on the end, making the Wiggler very acceptable on that good side even. And it's going to be making his way into damage now. Like, obviously still with a comfortable lead, but Fur hanging in there.
Yeah, and for Fur, he's basically just trying to keep up the pace. Nicro is still potentially on what could look like a world record for GSA races.
Yep,
there maybe with that capture warp potentially putting him a little bit more off pace, but we're still on pace for a very low 100 essentially.
Yeah, someone was mentioning that he was like plus 16 on his PB entering Lost. It's worth to say that his PB does have some noticeable time save in snow for him. Like he could technically save some time there, but we'll see and gauge as he goes on through his run. Is now basically done with the part of the musician collection. He still has to play through that higher level section of Metro. I'm not necessarily talking about higher level of gameplay, but literally higher level in terms of geography.
Yep, literally climbing on top of buildings.
Yep. Ooh, going for a little single jump right there. I wonder if that was on purpose or not. I mean, most people a bit stronger, but that single jump seems to work just as fine.
It's interesting. Most of these runners are doing that kind of spin pound roll cancel strategy so that you maintain maximum speed coming out of that doorway. But I've actually seen Nicro do what I do, which is a dive into a spin pound and then a roll boost. And you obviously cannot fit a single jump quite into that space, so or sorry, a triple jump. So you do have to do a single jump. And yeah, as long as you vector your single jump properly, you can make it across the gap.
I really like that actually. I do this myself for like both directions. I mean, you go into the other direction on World Peace or like Darker Side from the checkpoint, and that basically allows you to guarantee that you'll get at least a roll. You can still bonk after the spin pound, but going for the spin pound at the start, you can easily lose your speed doing that roll cancel. Now, optimally, you would still triple jump, and then you could actually skip the cap dive. That's like the optimal stat, triple jump, and then like spin throw out of the triple jump to open the chest and dive. But Nicro going for his own way of doing this, and this is certainly not necessarily that much slower.
Yeah, you can usually kind of pick your battles. As long as you're not choosing the slower strategy in all of these situations, then of course you're not going to be losing too much time. But playing consistently sometimes does edge out over playing risky and fast, especially in a situation where maybe you're only losing half a second at max.
Exactly. Now first, at this point also about to be done with his musician collection. Still has to talk to the actual bases before he can move on to the, once again, high level of Metro. But we can pretty much, I mean, I can pretty much guarantee you that the chances are high that we will see a little bit of a split happening now as Nicro is making his way over to Snow. The chances are high that Fur is once again going to be selecting Seaside instead for his AUM muscle memory.
And for the coins, still looks like he's a little bit behind. True.
Actually, definitely the play regardless. Yeah, 25 is going to be hard to get, so that's around the count that you should just select Seaside regardless.
29.54 Metro exit by Nicro, by the way, which is phenomenal pacing. These guys at the top level are consistently getting sub 30 Metro times. but you know, it basically puts you on pace for a low 100 if you're able to come out of Metro still sub 30.
You know, I think it's funny how we always considered Metro to be kind of at the half-past point of the game. And even though if we would assume that right now, we would be able to say, okay, so if these guys get like 29 48s, they should be getting like 59 4x's. And even though that's obviously not the case, I think like it kind of is still holding true. The only reason it tends to be that way is because the early game has seen such higher optimization levels. Like even with things like lay clip being found, sand rerouting and stuff, I feel like Metro can still kind of signal the half-past point of the game. It's just once again that yeah, runners have optimized the early game so much more.
And I think that's, you know, depending on whether you're a runner that focuses on the early game or the late game, you know, those are two very different strategies to approaching how you speedrun. But it just goes to say that, like, when it comes to the runs, you're obviously going to optimize the early game a little bit harder and a little bit more intensely, because you don't want to be taking huge risks towards the end and risk throwing away all that time and all of that energy put into the run in the first place. So typically, yeah, it does kind of work that way regardless of your mindset.
Nicro now in snow, get some coins. Actually only one, it looks like, as he passes here, but he's at 111, so he won't have to deal with any uncomfortable moments here as he's trying to pay in cash for his moon in the shop later on. Now first, probably, as I mentioned, gonna be making his way over to C-set here, and it looks like that's what he does. Just not only for his personal choice, but also for his coin count.
Yep, gonna be the good play here. So we're gonna basically, Snow is the longer of the two by about a minute. So with the lead that Nicro has, we probably will see these guys both in Seaside together for a brief moment. But Nicro still has a little bit to go here in Snow Kingdom. Got to get these moons in this Goomba room. I always think how slow this room is. It's actually amazing that we've reached a point in Super Mario Odyssey speedrunning where something in any percent is actually considered to be too slow for Darker Side. But Darker Side has actually routed this room out entirely.
Now, this room is still in Darker Side with dupes at this point, which is something that I've been messing around with, kind of allowing yourself to grab those duplicate moves out of the shop. We'll see if that's ever going to become a category. It's super fun, actually, and highly recommend. But it just tends to be that way because the 80% snow is actually faster, since World Peace and Snow is never gotten in this one. Since we have the access to so many duplicate moves, we don't even have to do World Peace here, which actually tends to be a pretty slow section overall. But as we say, this is absolutely unfortunate. The 80% world would obviously be drastically different if we had different choices, but these moons are horrendous, extremely slow. If you compare to anything else in like these quote-unquote open kingdoms, because like, technically Snow should be an open kingdom, but it really isn't. It just has like no options before you get this world to world peace.
Exactly. Things do open up quite a bit after you've cleared the blizzard and you've achieved world peace here, but obviously doing the bound bowl is an extremely slow thing, so I'm not going to be seeing that in any percent runs. Just trying to get out of as many as you can in Snow, but there is no options.
Now, we didn't even mention, and I just watched that as I watched the restream on the other screen, by how much Nicro just made Snow jump. It was actually crazy. He threw Cappy to side. He almost made it without the second dive. Like, ever since he started implementing these little vectors in the middle of the jump, we just learned how quote-unquote easy that jump can be if you vector right. But he made that by like probably one of the most, the biggest chunks I've ever seen. Like he cleared that jump without any problems.
Nicro is going to be a new professional trick jumper confirmed.
Dude, I can't wait for this. He actually said he's going to be trying some trick jumps. I definitely gonna have to see that stream. It's going to be hilarious.
But yeah, here we are in Seaside together. Fur is just about to leave, but Nicro is making his way in. Didn't really notice any mistakes on Fur's part in Seaside. Looked to be pretty clean to me. So it's going to be up to Nicro to kind of follow suit. But we're going to trade spaces here for a moment. We're going to be going to Snow Kingdom now with the coins that he needs.
Oh, that spin was hot. We didn't really see him spin. Very nicely done by Nick there, as he's already done with his first moon. In Seaside, they do still meet in the same kingdom here, but obviously, as you just brought up, still has to go through the entirety of Snow, which, with all of its risks, such as the Snowbin jump. But for Seaside has been looking clean. He has been collecting the coins he needed. Also, pretty good fish clip there on his side. Let's see if Nico can match that part.
Yep, Fur is a bit of a fish clip master. He does have a tutorial online for any of you aspiring speedrunners out there that want to learn how to do these kinds of fancy tricks. I would actually say that if you're going to start with speedrunning in Super Mario Odyssey, the fish clip is probably the first trick that you should just go ahead and implement immediately. It's actually way easier than any of the other tricks in this game. It's basically free, and it eliminates the need to learn how to do the Notes Moon, which we used to do in Seaside, which is arguably much harder to get down at an optimal level.
Actually true. Like, if you start up now, I mean, there's arguably easier tricks in general in this game than that clip. It's definitely very easy as far as like an actual out of bounds clip is concerned anyways.
Yes.
But I guess if you consider stuff like, I don't know, moon skip is obviously something you should learn before this clip. But if you think about out of bounds clips, this one is super easy, and the Notes Moon is literally arguably harder when you start off running, so just learn this.
Yep. Even just like, I know that when I was trying to get the controls down for learning this game, it was just hard enough trying to run in a straight line to get all the notes.
Yeah.
So, learning something like this, if you are comfortable with the movement in this game, it is relatively intuitive and it's definitely worth giving a shot. And it's pretty fun, even if you're just playing casually, to just use the fish clip to get out of bounds and just start swimming around Seaside outside of the barriers.
Fur going for Snow Clip gets it as well. He took his sweet time there, actually, clearing up all of the snow with his spin throw, but he made it work. Actually, pretty interesting out of bounds movement, though. I'm not sure if that was the most optimal version. It might have not been exactly what he wanted, but he made it work. As long as he hit that loading zone, that's what really matters.
Potentially just jumping by accident instead of doing a roll boost forward, but that's okay. He was able to make the distance to get to the loading zone, and that's what really counts here.
I was referring to myself, and Fur now also clearing out all of the Spinies. Optimally, he would have probably actually left one alive, but it's not the end of the world. Doesn't really lose much time. It's a cool time tip that you can kind of just get. But it's whatever, really.
Nicro just still playing solid. Still not really showing any signs of slowing down. But Luncheon is approaching. Nicro also pretty good at Luncheon. I'm not sure if he's ever held the IL world record here, but, you know, when it comes down to Luncheon, it's basically the Wooded of the late game, in my opinion. You basically do have to put all the pieces together. You cannot really mess it up in any sense, or else you just kind of start bleeding time away. It's hard to lose huge amounts of time, except for maybe in the Forks room, but it's very easy to lose 1 second here, 2 seconds there, and it all adds up very quick. Yep.
All over the place. For the longest time, if you, like, I just know by myself, for the longest time when you start running this game, you get like let's say you get like 650 luncheons, and you feel like you're not doing anything wrong. Like you just play everything fine. You even go for a turnip clip. It might take a little bit to set it up, and then it's really hard to initially understand where you can lose time everywhere. Like, a 650 doesn't even look horrible sometimes, is basically what I'm trying to say. And then it's like 40 seconds away from like a good one.
And it's amazing that, you know, that's kind of a foreshadow for the entire run. You know, you can play out of your mind at a particular level and get yourself like a 104, and that is absolutely a phenomenal time, but it really does come down to optimizing every single possible movement option that you have and doing it in a way that is just 0.2 seconds faster here, 0.3 seconds faster there. You combine that over the entire course of the run and you've got yourself an extra 4 minutes, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And just so happens that Luncheon is one of those movement heavy kingdoms where all of that compounds rather quickly.
For, on the other end, still doing well for himself, not in Luncheon yet, but he just cleared that gap over to get the snow painting moon. Snow Jam acquired, is now going to be making his way over to Luncheon since he obviously already beat C-Set. Previously, now he can't pull any shenanigans on us anymore. There's no I think you need to help me out. Cappy says something about like proverbial forks. I don't know if I just the first word was probably wrong, but it's
No,
something
you did.
like
You
that.
got it. You nailed it.
Oh, I'm popping off, dude.
English level 100 right now.
Exactly. Yeah, but there's none of them anymore. It's only it's linear basically. Even though it's the gameplay is not really linear, you could technically do whatever you want in Luncheon. But as far as Kingdom progression goes, we are on the same path now.
Yep, heading into Luncheon, and of course these guys are going to be taking the same route through Luncheon, as it is the most optimal. For just messing up the triple jump for the Salt here. Quick backup though, just kind of taking a step back to get the triple jump. Interesting mechanic of triple jumps is that your speed doesn't matter for height. You can basically time a little triple jump within a very, very small space and still get the height you need, which is very handy in that particular situation.
Oh, you brought up how Fox is definitely one of the scariest segments in Luncheon. Even still, Nicro's doing well. Here, no deaths. All of the motion controls ended up working for him, which is something that has been causing big trouble to runners recently, not only in their attempts but also in this league. But he's out of there and is now having to deal with turnip clip, which is even though everybody has been getting better at it, as always, still not guaranteed to work out in your favor every time, especially if you go for the far throw or the Kobe strategy. Let's see what he decide to do. He's gonna go for like a mediocre one, and this might not work. Looks like he needs to readjust. He actually trusts it, and this might be. I was about to say he might be rewarded. This was a very like bold decision because it might have worked if it was like a few more pixels to the left, the turnip in that case. But yeah, needs a little bit here to reset us up, probably losing around 15 seconds to that section, which will probably eliminate the chances of any race world records. But it's an absolutely clean run from him overall.
Absolutely. Still on 100 pace, somewhere in the mid to high 100 pace here for NicroVeda. So still nothing to sneeze at. Nicro's been posting some extremely good race times as of late. Basically posting nothing but 100s in the last 2 or 3 races he's had.
I mean, that's pretty easy since he's obviously visibly splicing right now. No, but
literally splicing through the stage.
Still obviously having to deal with some frame drops. This is still a verified race. This man is local recording, and we are obviously doing the cheap prevention thingy, so everybody has to set their dates just right. So this is obviously not an accusation, but rather just a joke. Like we're now done with Luncheon as he grabs that multi-moon, is gonna make his way over to Ruined after.
Making his way over to the trash talk portion of the run.
I feel like this entire race has been kind of that, but at the same time, Ruin is always special, right? That's how we actually dedicate your commentary, at least we commentate, to something dumb or something off topic. We've obviously tried to at least talk about the run, but Ruined is where Limcube and Ninjas go in their trash talk section, and we basically talk about some off topic stuff, or maybe on topic if you consider that Speedrun in general on topic, but we've been talking about all different categories and all junk.
Yeah, certainly have. And I think for this one, I'm going to dedicate the trash talk section to just how close pace it really is. It's fascinating to think that, you know, the announcement of it was very exciting, having that live event be considered for such a competitive speed platform, and now we're just about a month away, and we're within the last 2 rounds, moving on to the elimination round within the next 2 weeks essentially. It's right around the corner.
And honestly, as far as predictions are concerned, I don't see how the current top 4 is not going to be making it to pace. The top 4 has been playing on such a consistent level throughout the entirety of the leagues, like the current top 4, and this is going to be made up out of Chaos, Nicro, Curbs, and I think
Strav?
I was about to say, I think Stravos. Sui got to be 5th at this point, and that's actually the only wild card I see. Obviously, this is a qualifier. Everything can technically happen, but like I'm pretty sure Chaos, Nicro, and Curbs will be at pace. Yeah, we obviously gonna have to wait and see. But like Sui and Strav is an amazing racer, but we've seen these two face off in finals 2 times before.
They have
went
such a
away.
history.
They really have, yeah. So it's really like a toss-up between those two. It's really hard to predict that.
And it'll definitely lead to an exciting decision between the
They
two.
will face each other actually if they are on 4th and 5th, which is actually going to be amazing.
Yeah, exactly. It will be kind of like tournament bracket style. Interesting down throw there from Fur. I'm not exactly sure what happened. This just kind of caught me off guard in the moment there, but he did make it up to the meat plateau, so no big deals there. But yeah, and I mean, that being said, we are in a qualifying position, so anything can really happen. It is an elimination style thing, so an upset is still not off the table.
Now, no matter what, we can basically guarantee that PACE is going to be very exciting. All of the contenders that can potentially end up there will deliver you amazing stuff live as far as the Super Mario Odyssey side of things are concerned. So I'm definitely going to be hyped to see that action, yeah, kind of unravel live, potentially also obviously with some live commentary from us. And also, I think that I wanted to briefly talk about here in that Ruin section since first, just going into this. I looked back at like an old Ruin Trash Talk segment where we were predicting sub-hour. This was basically just after Seaside clip got found. I think you predicted like very shortly after the clip was found. I think like mid-February or something. I said March 10th. Both of these predictions failed. Now, what if that all was like a ginormous plot, like a ginormous canon? Like, what if this is all plot armor and sub-hour is actually gonna happen at pace in the finals, and both of the runners are gonna get it, and it's like a frame perfect time. Now that's actually the perfect timeline. What if that's actually true though?
Super Mario Odyssey at GSA are definitely not scripted. Please do not come after us.
No. I was just joking, of course.
Yep.
Yeah, never.
That being said, very hype. You know, there are a couple of people who are predicting that by the time we are at pace, sub-hour is just a thing that is going to happen. Some people think that there will just be a sub-hour at pace regardless of if it's the first one or not. And we're on that track, and you know, I think it's starting to get to the point where maybe it's just a mental block from these runners. There's so much pressure put on what sub-hour means for the community and for the speedrun that I can imagine that there is a lot of kind of mental hang-up about it. There have been probably about a dozen runs from the top 3 runners at this point that could have potentially been sub-hour, and even a couple from other runners, including Goryuya, including Suisaiga, including Stravos the other day actually, but just like coming down to just a big choke towards the end and kind of throwing off the pace. But that's just how it is. That's just where we're at with this game right now, and I think that once that mental barrier is shattered, it'll kind of open the floodgates for everybody, and we'll start seeing sub-hour happen quite a bit more often.
Yeah, once again, just literally think about the fact what a 18 flat would actually means. Like being 16 seconds ahead of a world record that has like 4 seconds of time save in Cloud, and like a huge mistake in Bowser's at the start, basically means that, well, everything actually does go right. Like a 59.3x is possible. It actually is like a beginning like that basically confirms that if you play well over the entirety of the run, which, I mean, that sounds like foreheads. You obviously just play well. But at the same time, it is possible. Like, Goryuya has been proven that his early game is amazing, and I guess Curbs has been proven that his mid game is amazing. If all these things align, it really seems to be just a mental barrier, but it is kind of the perfect time at the same time. We have so many contenders for it, and nobody really knows at this point who's gonna get it anymore. Like, I think there is no favorites anymore. Everybody's currently capable, really.
Yeah, I would say everybody within the top 6 could potentially just pull away with a sub-hour all of a sudden out of nowhere. Of course, there are a couple of prime picks, those being the top 3, who are all within 3 seconds of making that happen with their PBs currently, but just about anybody could pop off at any moment.
And that's the reality we're in, yeah, for sure. Now, Nicro has been farming a tremendous lead over the recent run, and it's not even that Fur's been making many mistakes here in this later section, and obviously Nicro's making a mistake as I say that, but yeah, his lead has been growing off of just overall better move, and sometimes it's hardly visible, but there's all of these tiny things that some runners do to actually end up getting more time save. And he, if he actually gets maximum points here, he's basically, I mean, I'm not sure, he might already have the first spot secured, actually. I'm not sure if anybody can actually still get that from it, unless he would have lost by like 3 minutes in this one.
Yep, and I don't think that is possible at this point. I think that Nicro is still, I haven't confirmed this myself, but still undefeated in these leagues.
He's undefeated, and he leads the pack by like 60 points already, and he is on the verge of getting another 40-point match.
Yeah, another 40 plus potentially the entire sweep, the entire 59 points out of 60 over Fur here.
Yeah, he could get 59 obviously.
Absolutely just running away with this. It's amazing. At the beginning of this league, no discredit to Nicro at all, but we kind of looked at him as a bit of a wild card coming into this league. We looked at him and we said, he doesn't really do very many races. We kind of pinned him for the kind of runner who was more likely to, a little bit of topper troubles here from Nicro as we're trying to praise him, but we looked at him as the kind of runner that maybe had that one good run every once in a while, that like his PB would always kind of fall behind the pack, and then he would come back again with like a really big one and take the lead again, and then everybody else would catch up, and it would take a while for him to PB. But he's definitely showing that he's putting some work into his consistency lately, and it is paying off when it comes to this league situation.
Now Nick is done with his refights here. Once again, a tremendously slow section of the run. And I've actually been saying that most of the time we do still see runners at some point lead on this specific island here of Bowser's, and that was even the case yesterday in the race between Suisega and Orolme, and that ended up being like 2 minutes and 30 seconds apart. But looks like this won't happen today. First, still in that charts section, which kind of signifies us once again how much Nicro's lead actually has been growing. She should be at that 3-minute mark already. I haven't actually checked any fade-outs recently, but this is looking to be close to, or even already above 3. Once again, I haven't checked in a while, but looking around that mark.
Yep, and really to no discredit of Furs, just making some bigger mistakes than Nicro, and Nicro really not showing any signs of stopping. When we have to point out that he missed Bowser Dram and had to roll over to the pylon as a mistake, obviously we have a pretty good run on our hands. Still on 100 pace, as far as I can tell.
Oh yeah, certainly. I'm pretty confident about that one actually. Is now gonna be making his way over to the mech. It would be a higher one, but it looks pretty possible. Especially like for Nick, you always have to account how amazing his moon actually is. And like I'm almost counting moon as like a 5-minute and 10-second split. Even though that would be pretty unlikely, but he could technically get that, and he's very consistent and very good at moon. At the same time as Nick's doing some pretty good stuff here on mech, we do see Fur going for incredible, actually, Harriet hit. That one was one of the cleanest ones I've seen in a while. Like, she immediately got hit, and he was already spin pointing across to her, which is something that he has been doing, but Cappy was super close to her too. Like, he is actually playing this better than literally everyone once again, and this has been this has been how it's been for a while. Like, at some point Fur was the only one doing this strat, but now he's even advanced it. Let's see, Nick getting targeted quite at the same time. He's going to be happy about this one. But yeah, Fur really pushing the boundaries here in Harriet. Absolutely crazy.
I think he has a lot of pride in that being the one major strategy that Fur has contributed to the best theoretical sheet. He also is known for doing the Cloud Boost strategy in the Cloud Kingdom, one that not a lot of other runners will touch just because it is a bit of a risky thing to do. But Fur always, and we can also talk about the City Hall as well, that long jump across. Fur tends to go for some of these kinds of risky things that nobody else wants to touch, but obviously does give him a little bit of an advantage, and definitely bonus on the style points.
Yeah, that's the big thing. And it's sometimes, even though it's only quote-unquote style points, it's kind of cool for your image as well to be known for a certain strat. And like I literally mean that. Sometimes people stand out just because they do this specific strat. Like everybody actually knew. Like imagine people are talking about the like Fariat, whatever you want to call it, Harriet strat, like Fur's way of fighting Harriet. Obviously did something for him as far as making his legacy is literally
his namesake. I mean, when you have a situation like Dram strat, where Dram55, who used to run this game, has a strategy named after him that he basically only theorized and didn't actually do. You know, if you have basically made a claim on this game in a way that something is named after you, you're obviously doing something right. That being said, we do have value dives as well, so there's two sides to the same coin, I think.
But at the same time, it's not an understatement to say that Valo also obviously has a pretty good legacy in this game. He has been, it has been pretty early on, and he might not deserve the same credit as people have been pushing for all the way, but obviously also showing off a very amazing gameplay of this game pretty early on.
And running some darker side lately too.
True, and also doing well there. Alright, let's see. For the good old backflip climb here. Hopefully be able to close out this mech. And once again, it looks like Nick is still very capable of technically getting a 1-0 here. Needs to make this moon count, but should definitely be a possibility. Pretty easy.
I think very possible, as long as there are no major mistakes here. But Nicro, again, we're talking about this consistency from him. He does show that he is an incredible Moon Kingdom runner, and potentially just coming from all of those failed attempts in his very early runs of these games where world record paces have been shattered by rolling off of the bridge, for example. So Nicro going to be coming in strong here, and yeah, if he pulls through, we could be looking at something like a 1:00.3x even still. And to Fur's credit, that's actually better than his current PB sits. So even if he were to have the run of his life at this moment, he would still be having a tough time keeping up with Nicro. And that's, you know, just how it goes sometimes. If you end up racing somebody who's just got a good run on their hands, there's only so much you can do.
Yep, for sure. And for now going to be making his way over to Moon himself. Obviously not the very best one. I mean, he definitely got heavily affected by his early game. He wasn't really playing too bad at the later sections of the game. It was just that Nicro edged him out a little bit in terms of like his movement, and then obviously for getting pretty big time was such as the Jaxi skip one, especially in the early game.
That was a very stylish second phase cap grab from Nicro there, yeah, actually cool. Using the cap return jump to get the height in order to get that hat. I've never seen that before.
I wonder if that was intentional or not. I know that he used to have some issues with this like a pretty long time ago. Not sure if he's still been looking at this and maybe wanted to find something that he likes going for and to basically guarantee success. But that might have also been unintentional now. Let's see if he gets the third one, and looks like he will. He's now punching Bowser for the last time in this fight. At least the last time in this run. He's definitely going to be punching Bowser quite a lot more over the course of his career. That's at least what we are assuming, but he is going to be making his way to escape section now.
And after this match, NicroVeda announces his retirement.
Exactly.
Just moments before pace.
That's how it's going to go down. So technically a 3x would still be possible, but that would definitely require Nicro level pillars or even Miles Pro level pillars. If not, we could see a 1:04x definitely being more likely, which is absolutely stunning still. For going to be doing his best. To be honest, I do want to say, actually I'm not completely sure. I do want to say that maybe an extra point is still in reach, but I'm not completely sure.
Yeah, it's a pretty close situation here. Fur does have the entire Bowser fight to go through, which is approximately a minute and a half on its own. So we'll have a better judge when we enter the cathedral here.
Oh, side flip. That's good.
Going for the side flip.
Hey, he gets it very good. Dude, every time I see this, you actually notice how fast this is. Like not even having to jump, not having to ground pound, just instantly going into the side flip from this one is just beautiful.
Yeah, going back to the swag points there, Fur definitely earning himself a couple there.
Yeah, not only that, but also an additional second. Now, imagine he gets one extra point because he got that additional second. That would be quite sweet.
That would be stylish.
Nicro now in his natural habitat. This is where you'll find Nicros in the wild. in the pillar room, basically, practicing and shooting fireballs, because for some reason his consistency was just absolutely out of the world. Looks like another fantastic one. Like, it's actually not even funny. I don't know how he does it.
He literally beat the rock to that dropping point. Usually you have to throw a fireball and try and destroy that rock because it gets in the way, but he actually was able to literally fly directly past it, not even causing many issues here.
Still not going to be making that 3x margin, but a pretty low 4x. It's a 1:00:42 here according to his splits, and very nice time.
Only 18 seconds off of the race world record with this run. So absolutely phenomenal stuff from NicroVeda. And again, beating Fur's actual PB with this run too, so even with an excellent run, Fur may not have been able to edge it out. But all eyes on Fur now to try and make up the points that he can. He is on the third phase of the Bowser fight now, just trying to dodge the tail swipes. And yeah, we're basically going to see here, it's about 2 minutes of time from
he can get a point. I think he can get an extra point. Oh, it's going to be extremely close.
Yes.
He basically needs to get like a 159 pillar, which is 159 escape, which is possible, but requires some really, really good movement here and some really nice pillars. In that case, he would be able to get an additional point. But actually, he's most likely gonna get 1 extra point, but he might even be able to get 2. So he might end up going away with this with 3 points. But currently, it's looking like 2 points for him and 58 for Nitro, unless he plays out of his mind in this escape section.
Yeah, as long as nothing goes wrong in the pillar room, 1 point is definitely on the table. As long as he doesn't go over 1:03:42. Then he will be coming away with 2 points out of this match. Nicro taking 58, but with if he's able to mimic Nicro essentially with this pillar room coming up, he will be able to snag an extra one.
That's about it.
Could you imagine if he nails it by just 1 second? Then that moon cave skip would have actually saved that point, like we were talking about.
that would actually be insane. Side flip moon skip for 1 extra point, and that's actually interesting. That actually makes it so interesting sometimes. Like, is it really worth to go for the strat? I mean, maybe, because you might get a point off of it, but for now we are going to be focusing at the pillar room first, and it's definitely pretty hard to tie Nicro. He already needs 1 extra fireball here, something that Nicro has not been beating. Now first actually going for the 2 quick ones here, and they looked like they actually hit.
Ooh, they actually connected, dude.
Wait, okay, he had too much confidence there. Did this fall? Did this hit? Did he hit the pillar? I don't think he did. Okay, unfortunately. I'm not sure if he actually gets to get a point. He's shooting all over the place now. Okay.
He also didn't get the first pillar down with his fireballs here.
Oh, he didn't? Oh.
Unfortunate escape from Fur. But he does get the final hit. And it is going to come down to the wire. Actually, might not be able to scrounge out even that extra point. It's coming down to this.
I don't think so.
Nope. The pillar room is going to steal all of the points from Fur, unfortunately. Coming out with a 1:03:45, so that will put him just shy of the 3-minute mark necessary to steal any points from the winner. NicroVeda, 59 points. Fur _ 1 point in this race. Nicro, within the last 3 races, I think, has already gotten 2 clean sweeps. He's just running away with the points.
True, this man is untouchable at this point. I think, he probably has to have secured first place with this one. I don't think there's any other way. He was already leading by 60 points. Now he's going to be getting 60 points on top of that. At this point, he is securing his first seed, and is definitely going to be happy about this one. I actually don't know even if he's happy about this, but this is almost like the usual for him now. But we have Fur joining us as well for some extra thoughts on his race there, showing off the side flip moves. Dude, no, come on. We were actually so hyped in this pillar room. You were going for the 2 quick ones.
Dude, both of them hit, but then
I know.
Packed it up so badly.
I was hyping up the 2 quick ones there. And then, that second pillar didn't end up going in your favor. It would have been hype if you got like an amazing
I think the
pillar.
third fireball hit too early after the second one, so it didn't count it.
Right. You do
Yeah.
kind of have to space them out in a bit of a rhythm. Otherwise, you will not register some of them. And that's part of the reason that the first pillar doesn't fall with your first 5 fireballs typically, but having some difficulties with the third one instead. But overall, how did you feel that your race performance went there? Did you feel fresh? How much, I guess the real question I have is how much of your AUM practice do you think is affecting your ability to play any percent at an optimal level?
So in the beginning, I felt like my hands were just cold because I hadn't warmed up beforehand. So that's why I feel like I died in sand and screwed up Dram Strat and made some other mistakes. Like throughout the middle, I didn't really feel like I did anything too weird. And the only time something from AUM got in the way is when I went for the clip in Snow Kingdom. I usually do that with a spin pound and 80%, but I started doing AUM movement and I was like, well, I guess I just gotta go through with this.
Yeah, I pointed it out, but you actually ended up still getting the loading. So I was a little bit scared for your safety there, but you still ended up at least.
It was sketchy.
Yeah, it looked like you were doing a jump out of it rather than the roll boost, but you did get the distance in order to get to the loading zone. Of course, if you didn't, you would have fallen into the death zone below and had to basically just take the walk of shame.
Yeah.
But we were able to avoid that.
Isn't even that bad. You spawn down at the barriers. That's actually not
Yeah.
bad. Okay.
That is true, yeah.
You don't have to jump down, dude. That's broken. I mean, obviously, I think you still did very well in the mid-game section. That early game was pretty much the most deciding part as far as like getting any more points is concerned. But it's always a pleasure to see you do some magic, such as we always point out how you do some specific stuff. Pretty much, yeah, like as the only one, like the chest jump in City Hall, even showing off the side flip moon skip today. I'm not sure. I haven't actually seen you do that, but that looked pretty cool, and it just barely worked.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised I got that. I haven't practiced that in a while.
Yeah, that was hot. But yeah, other than that, GG's to both of the runners here. Nitro is not going to be making it into this call. Probably still dealing with some internet issues. We had seen some frame drops there on his end. But this is going to be it for our block right here, Fur versus Nicro. Dangerous and I signing out. Make sure to follow these runners on their Twitch streams. You see their Twitch names on screen right now. Fur going hard on that All You Need Moons grind, and Nitro obviously still pushing for sub-hours. So definitely both extremely valuable streams to have in your follow list if you care about this game. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to follow the GSA channel as well to see all of that action unfold real soon, as far as those playoff matches are concerned, going into PACE, the big pinnacle of that league. Thank you so much, guys, and see you very soon.